Good morning and Happy New Year, because we haven't seen many of you. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Rogers is looking forward to sharing updates. We know all things budget today. And of course, following her updates, she'll answer your questions. So I would like to welcome Dr. Rogers. Thank you.
Thank you and good morning. As Ms. Onijala said, Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us for our January press conference. I'm pleased to provide you with updates from Team BCPS. I want to welcome our board chair, Ms. Lichter. Thank you for being here. Last night, I formally presented a $2.49 billion operating budget proposal for fiscal year 2027 to the Board of Education. It is important to note that the operating budget primarily focuses on the general and special revenue funds. The proposed FY27 budget represents an overall $57.3 million increase in the general fund budget and includes a projected increase of $19.9 million in alignment with the targeted increase from the Baltimore County government. The proposed budget preserves investments in our key priority areas, namely academic achievement, safety and climate, and infrastructure, while prioritizing the recruitment and retention of employees through compensation enhancements. We have spent the last several months engaging members of Team BCPS in conversation about the budget and priority areas for our system, ensuring that there was greater understanding of the budget process, including sources of BCPS funding, how funding is spent, specifically ensuring that our community knows that 82 cents of every dollar in BCPS is used for employee wages and benefits, while the remaining 18 cents are used for all system operations. Additional information on the BCPS budget is available. I invite people to go to our website and visit Budget 101 and our operating budget webpage for accurate official information from Team BCPS. Our priorities and investments are all focused on moving BCPS forward. Difficult decisions have to be made for this budget. I will remind you that this is the third consecutive year where we were faced with a tough fiscal landscape because of the continued expansion and implementation of the blueprint and anticipated lower federal, state, and local revenue. To address these budget challenges, we have put several budget elements in place for fiscal year 27, including no new initiatives unless required, hiring freeze for central office and non-school-based positions, review of all contracts for opportunities for renegotiation, reduction, and elimination, and zero-based budgeting. With these targeted efforts, we identified $62.1 million in cost savings and reductions to fund the FY27 priorities. This is in addition to the $168.9 million in reductions that we have made over the last 2 fiscal years. With tight fiscal constraints, we have prioritized funding for year 2 and 3 of the compensation package for all employees. The total cost for wages and benefits is $93 million. In direct alignment with the feedback from all stakeholder groups, we must prioritize these investments in recruitment and retention and recognize the ongoing efforts of staff. What we have accomplished as a system in 2 years has only been possible thanks to the dedication of all staff members in Team BCPS and their intentional focus on providing high-quality instruction, support, and care to all of our students. I remain committed to working with the Board of Education, County Executive Klossmeyer, members of the County Council, and lawmakers in Annapolis as the budget moves through the process. I encourage our community to stay engaged. The board will hold a public hearing on January 20th and work sessions on January 27th and February the 10th, where they will discuss the proposed budget and ask questions. The board is scheduled to vote on the budget request at that time. The budget will then be submitted to the county executive and county council for approval. BCPS staff, parents, caregivers, and community members are invited to nominate outstanding candidates for BCPS Principal of the Year and Assistant Principal of the Year for 26-27. Nominations will be open through Sunday, January 18th. Finalists at the elementary, middle, and high school levels will be announced in the coming months, and the Principal of the Year and Assistant Principal of the Year will be named at the Champions for Children's event in April. This is a great opportunity to recognize our dedicated leaders. And lastly, the 2026 BCPS Climate Survey will be available from February the 2nd through March 6th. I encourage BCPS students in grades 3 through 12, parents, caregivers, staff, and community members to participate. This annual survey is an important way for us to hear directly from the community, learn your views and experiences, and be responsive to your feedback. Survey feedback is used by our schools to refine school progress plans, as well as by the school system to measure our progress towards accomplishing our goals. The survey, which will be available in multiple languages, takes 3 minutes or less to complete and is anonymous. Last year, we had the greatest number of respondents ever, and we hope to surpass that number this year. Ms. Onijala.
We'll start with questions and have one back here.
Good morning, Channel 11. What do you say to families who might be concerned with the possibility of increased class sizes?
I think what we say to families is that no matter what the class size is, we are going to remain steadfast in our focus on providing high quality instruction and care to all of our students. When you think about class sizes, anytime the fewer number of students that you have is an opportunity to provide more time and attention. But when you look at the research specifically around class sizes, the number where we see in change in outcomes, academic outcomes for students, is around 12 or 13 students in a class, which we don't have with the exception of specialized classes in our school buildings. And so we're going to make every effort to remain focused on the quality of instruction that our students receive in their classroom. That is why we have prioritized our youngest learners and continue to be open to opportunities that help us to restore positions in the budget.
For the proposed position cuts, do those include layoffs, and are layoffs at risk if the $15 million from the state doesn't come through?
We do not have layoffs in our budget plan, nor do we have furloughs in our plan, nor will they be incorporated into our plan. If the $15 million becomes at risk due to the state budget, we will have to respond to that. That is one of the reasons why we are being very intentionally focused on our fund balance and the use of our fund balance. Fund balance, as you know, our reserve funding that the school system has, but we have to seek permission from the county council in approval for spending. We have increased the use of fund balance in this proposed budget from $37.8 million to $50 million to cover some of the gap. That leaves us with the required amount that is necessary for emergencies and contingencies, and there is an additional cushion. Hopefully we will not need to use that cushion for the gap with the state, but if we do have that emergency, it will allow us not to have to make an additional $15 million worth of cuts to our staff members.
Hi, my name is Jessica. I'm a reporter from the Banner. Great to meet you.
Good.
Thank you for having us today.
Absolutely.
I have a question about the district's algebra proficiency results from this past fall. So algebra was the one area where the proficiency rate decreased from the prior year. And I'm curious what you thought was driving that and what the district is trying to do to address it.
Sure. So Ms. Onijala can point you to some past conferences and past times where we've spoken specifically about it. I believe we also have a math presentation that would be helpful, but that was one of the areas that we pointed out to our community. We were concerned around middle school mathematics, the grades of our students there, and Algebra 1. we have created a mathematics task force. We are also in partnership with the State Department of Maryland around math. As you know, the performance for students in math across the state is in the 20s percentile, and BCPS is no different. So it's an area of concern. We have a task force. Task force includes not only central office staff, but we have school building leaders and teachers providing their voice. We're looking at the standards. The standards for mathematics in the state are changing, and so we're making sure that we're thoughtful and forward thinking in that plan, that we're incorporating some of the requirements that are coming down the line. But we also have some resources that we can point you to where we speak about this in depth. So thank you. You're welcome.
There's a 73% reduction in new spending. Why is that needed, and what are the types of things that qualify as new spending? Are they programs or positions, or how would you define new spending, and why such a drastic reduction is needed?
Such a drastic reduction is needed because we have a major gap in the budget. And so we really had to tighten our belts and really be intentional about all of the different ways that we could save before going to the workforce. With lower revenue coming in, higher compensation, and lower enrollment, we knew that the only lever we have, because 82 cents of every dollar is spent on wages and benefits, is around the workforce. So we were willing to do everything that we needed to do to reduce part of that 18 cents. New spending comes from things that are required, as well as if you're adding additional programs. We are not adding any additional programs, so that's one of the ways that we curbed our spending drastically. Only two areas are under academic achievement and infrastructure. For academic achievement, for us, we have we have 2 charter schools that are coming online, and we are required to provide funding to those two charter schools. And then the other area is around special education, both in our speech language pathologists, reducing their caseload, which is something that we committed to last year. We have the funding to continue that into the next fiscal year, and an expansion of 20 positions. I believe we have 11 paraeducators and 9 teachers, or I might have that reversed, total of 20 positions to address needs in our SCLS program, our CLS, and our continuum of services. In other words, teachers and paraprofessionals going directly into the classroom to support our students receiving special education services. For infrastructure required, we have 3 projects coming online where there's additional square footage in the building, and we need to maintain that square footage. So you'll see 12 building service positions on there: Lansdowne High School, Dundalk, and Deer Park Elementary School. And then we are moving in transcripts from, instead of having a full-time employee working with a contractor to handle all the transcript requests that come into the school system for a much reduced rate, as well as a contractor for data analytics to handle what those needs are. So very minimum new spending, only in the areas that are required, so we could try to mitigate as much as possible the reductions we would have to make in the workforce.
Okay, I'll go here.
Hi, thank you. A follow-up question on algebra. I wanted to see what the district has done in terms of analysis of the student subgroup results, because Black students in the county, their proficiency on the algebra test is even lower than the rate for the district overall, and wanted to see what you're doing to address that specifically.
So when we refer to our student groups, one of the things that you'll note in Baltimore County Public Schools for the last 3 years, when we share our data, we disaggregate our data. When we report our data, we don't only look for the number in the aggregate, we're also looking at how we're serving all students. We look at ethnicity groups. We also look at service groups, including students receiving special education services, multilingual learners, and economically disadvantaged students. And so that is part of our ongoing work. I will point you to our work that we have shared over the years regarding students and the gaps that existed for a long time. And so we have some gaps that existed no different than the state, no different than the nation, for Black African American students, for Hispanic Latino students, and I believe I might be missing some other groups. And so part of this work that we've done, really focusing on curriculum, really focusing on instruction, providing the training that's necessary to our workforce for not only the content but the pedagogy, and then making sure that central office is out in schools monitoring and modeling quality classroom instruction. Those are parts, some of the ways that we are working to close the gaps. And if you take a look at our data over the last few years, we have been making gains in this area.
We'll take a final question back here.
With around 600 people or positions being reduced in the school district, for a school district of this size, is that an outlier? Is that normal? How would you characterize that level of reduction?
So in the context of the number of employees, we have well over 15,000 full-time employees in the school system. For the last 3 years, since the ESSER funding has, no longer became available to schools, and we had the task of really addressing academic achievement, we've had to make some tough decisions about how to invest in the foundational skills that were necessary. One of the things that we did in the first year was look at vacant positions that had been budgeted for annually as a part of our budget. And so if you look, you'll see reductions in the hundreds for the last few years, but all reductions aren't created equal. Last year, we were proud of the work that we did and being able to hold on staffing allocations. So the numbers, while there might be some comparability in the numbers, the ways that we've been able to achieve the numbers are different, in that the last 2 years we were really able to focus heavily on central offices. Every year, no matter if there's extra funding in the schools or not, you always have to right size to enrollment, because all of the funding from federal, state, and local is based on enrollment. So that one number that I shared in the overall number, that is not atypical. That will always happen in a school system. But I would say the overall numbers might be comparable, but the way that we've arrived at these numbers are a little different than the last few years.